My husband smiled in divorce court when I signed over the house, the cars, the furniture, and every shiny thing his mother had spent 2 months telling the whole town I was stealing. His girlfriend smiled too. She thought she had won my life. Then my mother leaned close and whispered 2 words. Give her everything. So I did. 3 months later, every Mercer in that courtroom wished they had read what they fought so hard to win. Welcome back to Valora Stories. My name is Rebecca Lowell, and I was 34 the morning I walked into divorce court ready to lose everything. My husband wanted the house. He wanted my company. He wanted both of our kids. And he wanted the whole town to watch him take them. What he did not know was that the only thing more dangerous than a quiet woman is a quiet woman with clean records. I built Lowell bookkeeping on a folding card table in our garage. Before Grant. Before the kids. Before anyone in Marysville, Ohio knew my name. One client, one secondhand calculator, one brass key. I did books for a feed store first, then a diner, then a dentist, then every small business owner in town who walked into my office with a shoebox full of receipts and panic in their eyes. By the time I was 30, Lowell Bookkeeping had a real office downtown. 2 desks, a glass door, my name on it. People thought I was rich because I wore clean blouses and knew where every dollar went. They were wrong. I was steady. There is a difference. I fixed payroll mistakes for free. I helped clients negotiate with banks. I caught fraud before it became bankruptcy. I was the woman everyone trusted with their secrets and their money. That became my mistake. Because when my own life started being robbed in front of them, no one believed it could happen to me. Grant Mercer was charming in the way a man is charming when charm is the only tool he owns. He sold industrial equipment across 3 counties. He could make a waitress laugh, make a banker lean forward, make an old woman at church say, "That Grant is such a good man." I married him at 24. For a while, we were good. Or good enough. Then his side venture collapsed. He had sunk our savings and borrowed money into a partnership with a man who sold him nothing but air. One night, Grant sat at our kitchen table, pale and sweating. "I messed up," he said. "I did what I always did. I fixed it. I moved money cleanly from my business reserves. I negotiated the debt. I kept his credit from burning. I kept his name clean. I thought I was protecting my husband, but a man like Grant can forgive almost anything, except being rescued by his wife. After that, he changed. Small jokes first. You always have to fix everything, don't you? Must be nice being the smart one." I laughed because I wanted it to be nothing. It was not nothing. It was the beginning of his resentment. And resentment, if you feed it long enough, starts looking for company. Her name was Vivian Brandt, real estate agent, blonde, polished, the kind of woman who smiled like she was already picturing your furniture gone. She had sold us the house on Plum Street years earlier. Then suddenly she was everywhere. The same coffee shop, the same fundraiser, the same high school football game. I told myself I was imagining it. Then one afternoon, Grant left his phone on the kitchen counter. It lit up while he was in the shower. I did not touch it. I did not open it. But the message showed on the screen. It was from Vivian. It said, "Find out what her dad actually left her." Not, "I miss you." Not, "I love you." Just that. Find out what her dad actually left her. That was when I understood this was no longer only an affair. It was an audit. They were doing math on my life. My father, Walt Lowell, had died 5 years earlier. He left me about $180,000 and a small parcel of land outside town. Not a fortune, but enough to matter. My father had been a bookkeeper too, and he had one rule. "Money has a memory," he used to say. "If you let it, keep one." So I did. His inheritance went into one separate account. My name only. Not one marital dollar in. Not one marital dollar out. Every deposit written in the green ledger he gave me when I was 16. In his blocky handwriting, one word was written in the margin. Separate. Under it. Keep traceable. I did not know that ledger would become the wall between me and ruin. Grant did not tell me he was leaving. His lawyer did. The papers arrived at my office on a Tuesday. Hand-delivered. So half the street could watch the process server walk in. Grant wanted the house. He wanted half of Lowell Bookkeeping. He wanted primary custody of Hannah and Cole. And the lawyer's name on the papers was Trent Mercer, Grant's cousin. Of course. I sat at my desk, closed the door, and read every page. My hands did not shake until I got to the custody section. Hannah was 9. Cole was 7. Grant did not know their dentist. He did not know Cole hated crusts. He did not know Hannah needed the hallway lamp left on. But suddenly, He wanted to be the better parent. Not because he had become one, because custody was leverage. That night, I called Maddie Okafor, divorce attorney, calm voice, sharp eyes. A woman who looked like she had never been impressed by a man yelling in a suit. I told her everything: the affair, the company, the kids, the inheritance. She listened, then she asked one question. Rebecca, did you ever put your inheritance into a joint account? No. Did you ever use it for the marital home? No. Did you ever mix it with business or household money? Never. She set down her pen. Then they're chasing ghosts. For 1 second I could breathe. Then she leaned forward. But Rebecca, listen carefully. The law being on your side does not mean the fight is easy. Their strategy is to bet you got sloppy somewhere. I didn't. Good. Then we prove it. Grant's mother, Carol Mercer, started her campaign before the first court date. She did not shout. Carol never shouted. She lowered her voice in the church kitchen, and people leaned in. She told them I was cold, greedy, controlling, that I kept Grant on an allowance, that no wonder a good man had looked for warmth somewhere else. She never said affair. That was her gift. She let other people think the ugly part so she could keep her hands clean. Within 2 weeks, people stopped talking when I entered rooms. A client I had saved from payroll disaster crossed the street to avoid me. At the grocery store, 2 women from church looked at me, then looked away. Vivian stopped hiding. She showed up beside Grant at the hardware store, at games, at restaurants, always close enough for people to see. She was already acting like the next Mrs. Mercer, already measuring my life for curtains. Then Grant used the children. That was the part I could not forgive. He bought Cole a new bike, promised Hannah a horse, told them maybe they would all live in a better house soon. One night Hannah came home quiet. She sat beside me on the couch and asked, "Mom, are we poor now?" I knelt in front of her. I did not say one bad word about her father. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I said, "We are okay." Then I called Maddie and asked how to protect my children. The next morning we requested a guardian ad litem, a neutral person, someone whose only job was to look at what was actually best for Hannah and Cole. I kept their routines: same school, same dinner time, same bedtime, same hallway lamp. Grant offered ponies. I offered stability. It did not feel like winning. It felt like standing in a river, holding 2 small hands, refusing to let go. Then the town fundraiser happened. Church basement, casseroles, silent auction. Carol Mercer at the center table like a queen in a cardigan. Grant beside her. Vivian 2 seats down. I was getting coffee when Carol's voice carried across the room. Someone asked how I was holding up. Carol smiled and said, "Oh, she'll land on her feet, though I expect she'll be lucky to keep her maiden name." The table laughed. Comfortably, like I deserved it. I set my coffee down. I did not turn around. I did not cry. I walked to my car, sat in the dark parking lot, pulled an old receipt from my purse, and started making a list. Because I am a bookkeeper. When my life falls apart, I audit it. That audit changed everything. I pulled the mortgage records. Grant had quietly refinanced the house 4 months before he filed. Then he drained the home equity line. Almost every dollar of equity we had built in 12 years was gone. The money went into a property flipping venture, with Vivian Brandt listed as partner. Then I found the loan. Grant had signed a personal guarantee, his name, his debt, his risk, all tied to the very house he was fighting so hard to win. I stared at the papers under the green lamp in my office, and for the first time in months, I felt clear. Grant thought he was taking assets. He was taking liabilities. He had not read his own paperwork closely enough to know it. Maddie and I built the file brick by brick: certified inheritance deposit history, bank seal, probate documents, the parcel deed, LLC formation papers showing Lowell bookkeeping existed before the marriage, 12 years of separate tax returns, mortgage records, refinance documents, home equity line, Grant's personal guarantee, every date, every signature, every dollar, not gossip, not screenshots, not revenge, documents. My father's whole religion in one folder. Then my mother, Joan, gave me the line that changed the whole strategy. I had gone to her house with the folder and the green ledger. She opened it, saw my father's handwriting. Separate, keep traceable. She put one hand flat on the folder and said quietly, "Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is let them carry the load they fought so hard for." I did not understand at first. Then Maddie ran the numbers. The house on Plum Street had no equity left. After Grant's refinance, the home equity line, and the loan tied to Vivian's venture. The house was worth less than the debt attached to it. The cars? Debt. The furniture? Nothing. The shiny marital pile they wanted? A trap. And the company? Lowell Bookkeeping was me. The client stayed because they trusted Rebecca Lowell. Take me out of it, and what was left? A lease, 2 desks, filing cabinets. Grant was fighting for a business he could not run, a house he could not afford, and a girlfriend who wanted assets, not anchors. He had aimed every weapon directly at his own foot, and I had not laid one trap. I had only kept the receipts. The night before court, I slept at my mother's house. The kids were down the hall. The green ledger was on the kitchen table. My father's handwriting stared up at me like a hand on my shoulder. I held the brass key to my office, the same key I had carried for 12 years. The key Grant had once told me was cute. I was going to give away the house where my babies had learned to walk. That is not easy, even when the house is a trap. But I had promised Hannah we would always have a home. Not that house. A home. There is a difference. The courthouse hallway smelled like floor wax and burnt coffee. Grant was already there. Carol was beside him in her church coat. Vivian had actually come. She stood near the wall with a smug little smile like she was waiting for closing day. Trent Mercer shuffled papers like a man who thought volume was strategy. My mother sat beside me. She took my hand. The courtroom doors opened. Just before we stood, she leaned close and whispered, "Give her everything." That was it. 2 words. Give Vivian the house. Give Carol the victory. Give Grant the shiny pile. Give them everything they came to steal. And let them read the price tag afterward. I walked in calm. When the judge addressed the marital home, Trent launched into his speech. Maddie stood and said, "My client does not contest the marital home. She will sign over her interest entirely." Trent stopped mid-sentence. Grant blinked. Carol smiled. Vivian sat taller. They thought I had broken. Good. We went down the list. The house, his. The cars, his. Furniture, his. Appliances, his. Savings account, drained as it was, his. Every visible thing they had fought for, I signed away with a steady hand. Carol squeezed Grant's arm. Vivian's smile widened. They thought they were watching surrender. They were watching math. Then Trent tried to pull Lowell Bookkeeping into the marital pile. Maddie slid the LLC formation papers forward. Filed before the marriage. Separate books, separate tax returns, separate ownership. The judge glanced at them and moved on. There was nothing to argue. Then the inheritance. Certified deposit history. Bank seal. My father's estate. Never mingled. Never touched. Separate property. Mine. The judge nodded. Mine. Then Maddie turned to the house they had just won. She entered the refinance documents. The home equity line. The appraisal. The loan. The personal guarantee. And then she read the numbers aloud. The equity was gone. The debt was not. Grant leaned over Trent's shoulder. I watched his face change. Confusion, then fear, then understanding. He had won the house. He had won the debt. He had won the loan tied to Vivian's failed flipping venture. He had won exactly what he asked for. The courtroom went silent. Then Carol Mercer stood up and started shouting. At Trent first, then at Grant, then at Vivian. The church voice was gone. The pie-baking voice was gone. She called her own son careless in open court. She said he had ruined the family. She said Vivian had led him into stupidity. Vivian was already standing, already moving toward the door, because Vivian knew the difference between a man with assets and a man with debt. And Grant was no longer useful. The judge banged his gavel. The bailiff stepped forward. The Mercer side of the room became the public scene they had spent months accusing me of wanting. I sat still, hands folded, silent. The documents were louder than I could ever be. Then came custody. The guardian ad litem's report was plain. One parent had kept school, routines, meals, bedtimes, and emotional stability. The other had offered gifts, promises, and chaos. Primary custody went to me. Standard visitation for Grant. That was the only moment I almost cried. Not for the house, not for the money. For Hannah and Cole. I had kept what mattered. After court, Carol found me in the hallway. Her face had been reassembled. Church voice back on. She asked if we could revisit the arrangement. Maybe I did not really want the house's troubles. Maybe we could come to a family understanding. I looked at the woman who had told a room full of people I would be lucky to keep my maiden name. I closed my hand around the brass office key in my pocket. Then I said, No, Carol. I'm keeping what I built. You can keep what you fought for. I walked out with my mother. Behind us, the Mercers were still arguing. 8 months later, Grant lost the house. Short sale. Debt followed him. Vivian was gone before the paperwork cooled. Carol stopped holding court in the church kitchen after people realized who had actually been lying. As for me, I kept Lowell bookkeeping. My name stayed on the glass door. I bought a small house on the east side of town. 3 bedrooms, good kitchen, paid for with my own separate, traceable money. Hannah picked yellow for her room. Cole claimed the yard for a future dog. And every night, I left the hallway lamp on. People still ask if I lost everything in the divorce. I tell them the truth. I gave her everything. She just had no idea what everything was going to cost. If your ex's family tried to take everything from you, would you have fought for the house or handed them the debt? And what state are you watching from right now?